And here we go with 55. Postquam. Afterwards, or after, ut dixi, as I said, the Senate, in Catilinae sententiam discessit. So they left or came into the same viewpoint which Cato had proposed. So they'd done that, and the consul, Ratus, thought it optimum, the best thing to do, in factu, in the fact that, or because of the fact that night, which was instabating, which was pressing in hard, Anticapre should take some action before the night, ne quid, lest anything novatur be made new in ea spatio. So during the space of this night, he didn't want something new to happen. So it looks like he ordered the tresviri, these are minor magistrates, that to prepare, in this little clause, quae supplicum postuma, what the supplicant was demanding. This is the punishment or the execution. So the consul's ordered this. He's ordered these men to prepare the things for these executions. So ipsi, consul himself, having ablative absoluted, having praesitus dispositus, so he's set down some protection, garrisoned some men for defence, and he deducated, that's the reduplicated perfect, he led Lentulus into the carcem, into the prison. Idem, likewise, if it happened, caterus to the rest, through the praetors. So this guy, Lentulus, was led by the consul, and the praetors led the rest of the same thing. Now, est in carcere locus. So there is in the jail a locus, a place, which is appellator Tullianum, which is called a tullius, where paululum, a little bit, when you ascend, and ad lavum to the left, around duodecim, around 12 feet in the ground, depressus, in a depression in the ground, about 12 feet. In this jail, there's a place called Tullius. Eum, in this locum, in this place, it is muniant, it's fortified, undique, all around, with parities, which is a wall, and in super, and from above, there is a camera. This is a room with a vaulted ceiling, maybe an A-frame or something. Juncta, so it's joined to it, or next to it, and actually it's above it, looks like, with lapidus fornicibus. This is like the third time we've seen this. It's a rock archway, but it's in cultu, so they don't take care of it. It's tenebrous, it's dark, and the odour is foda, which is a foul odour, and terribilis eos, it's facies, and so it has a terrible appearance. Well, it's terrible to look at, and it stinks, and it's dark, and it's unclean. In eum locum, so in this place, postquam, after Lentulus demissus est had been sent down there, vindices, these are, it literally means avengers or something like that, of this capital punishment. So people who have executioners, which is usually a carnifer, quibus, by which they had been preceptum, by which they had been instructed, they frangored his gulum, they broke his throat with a lacrio, which is a rope noose or something like that. So he was led down there, and the vindicers, according to instructions, broke his throat, killed him. Ita. So thus, illi patricius, this guy of the patrician class, from agente clarissimum corneliorium, from this most famous, that's a superlative, as we see Sallust likes to use, from this gens, which is the family stock most famous of the Corneliuses, who had consular imperium, Roma, at Rome, it's a neuter, who had habewerat, dignum, a worthy to his moribussus, to his ways and his factuses and his deeds, he found the exitum of his life. So the end of his life, he found down here in this dungeon, you might want to say. Day, concerning Cathago, Startilio, Gabinio, and Capario, you can just put a US on the end of that for English, eodem modo, in the same way, supplicum, a punishment was sumptum est, was taken up for these four fellows. 56. Dum ea Romae garanta. So while these things were garanting, being carried on at Rome, Catiline, from all his copia, from all of his forces, we'll say, quam which at also he had himself at a duxerid, which he himself led, and Manlius had, he instituted or formed up duas legions, 2 legions, and he completed them, he filled them up with cohorts pro numero militum, according to the number of the men. 2. Dende. So then, ut quisque, as each one voluntarius, so as each voluntary person, or from the Socis or from the allies, they venerated in Castro, they came into his camp. So as each of these people, voluntaries or from the friends, equalita, adverb, they were equally distributed amongst his 2 legions. And in brevi spatio, in a brief space of time, the legions he expleverated, he had filled up in the number of men. So he'd filled them up with the number of men. When at the beginning, not amplius, not more than 2,000 men, he had. And the lobe has got, Catiline formed 2 legions because that was the normal complement of a consular army. At first, each of the 10 cohorts per legion would have contained only 100 men, roughly 400 short of the usual number, if that makes any difference to you. Sed ex omnia copia, but from all of his copia, from all of his forces, circita, around, a pars quarta, a fourth there were, instructor, given lined up with military arms. So only about a quarter of what he had military arms. And the Catilinae, I'll just read about these military arms again. The gladius was the sword, the pilum was the javelin, the scutum was the shield, the lorica was a corselet, that's a like an armed vest that you wear, cassis is a helmet, and ocria are greaves for the limbs. Okay, so the Catilinae, the rest, as quemque casus, as whatever case there was, had armaverated themselves. They'd armed themselves with sparos, which are hunting spears, I think, and lances. These are lances. You might have seen jousting had lances. It's like a long spear. And others were portabanting, carrying very sharpened praeacuta pseudus. These are stakes made out of wood. Okay, so for the Daily Dictionary, sparus, hunting spear, javelin. Small kind of fish as well. So yeah, the hunting spear, javelin. And that's in the male second declension. Okay, said, but postquem after Antonius with his exercitu had advenabated, so when Antonius had come, then Catiline, per the montes through the mountains, facere inita, made a journey, modo, so now he was ad urbum, coming to the city, and modo again, correlative, now he was vorsus, that's a post-positive, Catiline conspiracy here of Sallust uses a U, this is versus, means towards Gallia, Gaul. So this little bit means now he was going towards the city, now he was turned towards Gaul. He moved his castra, so he moved his camp after he'd gone through the mountains, going in these different directions. He did non dare, he didn't give any occasion to the hostibus, to his enemies, which would be the Romans, of gerunding, of pugnanding, of having a fight, an open battle. Spirabat, he was hoping, praepideum, any day now, very soon, that he'd habiturum for himself. It's the future. He would have for himself Magnius Copius, great forcer. C, it's conditional if Rome at Rome, his soci, his allies, had patra visitum, if they had completed incepta, what they had begun. Almost done. Interior. So meanwhile, he was repudiating servitia. He was turning away slaves, of who, initio, so initio is at the beginning, of who of this type, generis, to him, had concurribated. A lot of them had run to him in a great force, or a great force of them had run to him in the initio, in the beginning. But he was fretus. He was relying on the opibus Coniuratione, so it had all his hopes and resources on this conspiracy. So he was relying on that now, so he could afford to turn away slaves. And we have a simile. At the same time, also, he was istumans. He was thinking this would be alien to his rationibus. To his reasoning for having this, or what it would appear to be, he thought it might look strange having too many slaves. And we see video to be seen in a causam civium, in a civil thing, or since it was to do with citizens. I didn't want it to be seen to be communicavisse, which means having going-ons with fugitive services, with fleeing slaves. So it wouldn't seem good in his cause of dealing with Roman citizens to have too close contact and to be seen as just a rebel with slaves or something like that. Okay.